We'll always have the joy of that 2-0 win over Panama. They can never take that away from us. Tonight, a reality check of sorts. We descended into Guadalajara, the city that Chicharito built. For the first time since 2012, the US men's national team played a friendly south of the border, and we face up to the sternest test the US will encounter this calendar year under Pochettino. The first game against Mexico, yes, and Mexico who have been in even worse shape than we've been in. But this is a rivalry that just has its own ecosystem, and a rivalry that's given a generation of fans formative memories where players are defined, memories are forged, even in friendlies. These are nights to cherish. I don't want to live in a world where this game's not a celebration of football in our region. And tonight, it was a lesson of types. Let's be clear. Two things before we start. Remember the cardinal rule. We don't read too much into friendlies, right? And second rule, remember, this was very much it was a C team. Let's tell ourselves it was a D team. 8 starters missing. Look at that squad. I honestly thought, and I don't like to speak of myself like this publicly, I do believe tonight I have never been closer to at least making the substitutes bench for a United States team. That's how thin we were. It didn't happen for us. Poch, honeymoon over. We lost 2-0. GFOP at Hugh Lindsay had called this entire month Pochtoberfest. Pochtoberfest is officially now over, but huge love to all of you who are riding with us into the wee hours to watch this wonder. There are so few games before the World Cup 2026 kicks off. Let's savour every single one together, even tonight. And we're not here alone, because I am genuinely giddy to break down the game and all that's really happened this week, to go deep on tonight/yesterday's game, and to also grapple with your questions. We will engage, we will ruminate, we will prognosticate. I don't know what any of those words mean, but I'm delighted to have a 2-time Gold Cup winner with this very US men's national team, a member of the 2014 World Cup squad, a player who honestly I adore because his skill on the field is equalled by his activism and integrity off it. I do believe there should be a statue of this man one day in Philadelphia. It's Union captain, Englewood, New Jersey's finest. It's my friend. Welcome to Mr. Ale Bedoya.
Raj, thank you. Wow, you're just like a poet with those words, huh?
You have lived a life that's been forged of poetry. Ali, it's so good to see you. Are you ready for some US men's national team after dark, baby?
After dark, I'm kind of sitting here wondering why I ended up staying up this late, but I'm staying up this late to be with you, Raj. I
know, and it's vice versa. It's ultimately, we've only got each other to keep ourselves going here. And can we just keep telling ourselves this was our D team, maybe our E team, and it's no big deal, right? Get your comments in the chat. Krista T says, in the words of Steely Dan, oh no, Guadalajara won't do. God bless Steely Dan. But probably the best American footballer since Spray Tan Dan. Jake Hookie says, Poch out, Deutsch in. Don't come at me with that heresy. This is a learning for Poch. This is Poch's induction to CONCACAF tonight. Tonight, Poch met CONCACAF. That is the start reality. This is a Do It Live, which means you, dear GFOPs, are a big part of the show. You know the drill. Come up, talk to us about what we saw tonight, this week, this Poch week. Here's how. Scan the QR code. It'll take you into a Zoom with our producer, Tony, who will get you set up to ask your question. This Do It Live is brought to you by our good friends at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Play $5, get $50 instantly when you use code MIB. Come be with us. We're live on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your questions, your comments in. Like this. Subscribe. To the YouTube. We've got a ton of people coming on this week. We have Thomas Frank coming on Thursday. We have Arne Slot, the Liverpool manager, coming on Friday. Come be with us. Come and mourn with us. But before we dive into the story of Mauricio Pochettino's first defeat in his second game in charge, he's still batting 500 people. Let's start with this quick bit of massive news. Thomas Tuchel deserves a toast, and I do raise my third first Michelob Ultra of the night to the remarkable news that Thomas Tuchel has agreed to become England's manager after talks with the Football Association accelerated yesterday. That would be Tuesday. And I love this new international era. It just resurrects so many of our old friends. The 51-year-old will be only the third foreign manager of the men's team and the first from Germany. I will say the English tabloids are not taking it well. There was a headline today that I saw, a dark day for England. It's as if the Battle of Britain had never been won. Gent is no doubt a top-class tactical brain capable of working with elite footballers. I have to say it's an astonishing career pivot for him to move from club football to international football and to do it in the crucible that's England, where the tabloid media are now going to obsess over whether he sings the national anthem. It is a wild world. I'm very happy for Harry Kane, who finally has a manager who speaks his native tongue. But wow, Pochettino has started something. Chelsea's pile of fired managers are all becoming international saviours now, from Mauricio Pochettino with us at the US, now Tuchel at England. I do think Graham Potter to Brazil can only be a matter of days away. Ale, did you know no foreign managers ever led their team to World Cup victory? Who's most likely to snap that? Is it Poch with the United States or Tuchel with England, do you think?
Well, I would just have to say Tuchel. I can't pronounce it like you do, but with England, I would think, because the quality of players that they have and the experience of those players. Although the American players getting up there, in terms of the clubs that they're playing for. Obviously, we missed, like you mentioned, about 8 starters tonight at some very, very big clubs. That really make a big difference.
They would have been. And by the way, you really did mispronounce Tuchel horribly. What you meant to say was Pochettino. I think that's how it's pronounced. By the way, I would like to see the day England have an American manager. Just want to say that. Greg Berhalter to England. Make it happen. Talking of Greg Berhalter, to tonight's game in the 50,000-seat Estadio Akron in Guadalajara for the 78th meeting between these North American footballing frenemies. Our boys, the US men, entered with one hand tied behind our backs. A squad already peppered with injuries, big-time injuries, further limited by Poch's decision to send back 5 players to their clubs, including Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Ricardo Pepi, citing a mixture of load management in many cases, injuries in others. So the squad that arrived was just 20 deep when it descended into Mexico. Ale, just 20 players to pick from. So many of his top-line players already gone. What do you think Pochettino's mindset was today? Was he all about the win? Or was he more, this is just a pressure-off game because my best players aren't here and I can just kind of audition and evaluate my B-level talent?
Absolutely. I think for him, I think he'd be pretty calm because he knows that this is just all about evaluation right now. He's getting acquainted with the team, with the players, their mentalities, their personalities. And a game like this will show him, the trust that he can have on the depth of the team, right? I think he already knows. He's worked with some of the players, obviously Pulisic and all that, and knows what those guys are capable of. But now this team, like you said, BC team is it's about the depth and who he can trust to put out there, who he can bring off the bench, who he can trust to maybe start in some marquee games coming up, and I'm fortunate to say I don't think he got many answers or maybe he did get a lot of answers actually tonight.
Yeah, but not in the way he would. I love that, the notion of who he would like to trust. I mean, by the way, asking what his mindset was, we know what Pochettino's mindset is. I mean, he's a win at all costs gentleman. I loved this quote before the game. He said, let's say you and me play marbles. I'm going to want to win. Even if I've beaten you 5 times, I'm going to want to beat you 6 times, 10 times, 20 times. I want to humiliate you sportingly, not humanly, but sportingly. That's a nice catch by Poch, and he doesn't mean the last bit. He is a winner who wants to win. Tonight will sting him. Particularly because we're facing a Mexico in the midst of their own crisis. They turn back to Javier Aguirre for the 3rd time to try and jumpstart their own stalled program. I mean, this was a Mexico. Herc Gomez has come on our show a lot and talked about the free fall, the plummeting. They're almost like the Alibaba version of Mexico. They just failed to beat a Valencia B team in their last game. Can I ask you, Ale, the state of the rivalry before this game? We'd entered on a historic 7-game unbeaten streak. Even though we had not played in Mexico in a friendly forever, and this was many of the young players' first. This is incredible. This was many of our team's first US away game. This is their first experience of life as an international on the road. I mean, would you have felt as a player this rivalry is not what it was? Do you think it's lost some edge? Or would you have been like, you played this game, this is Mexico, I don't care that it's not our A team, I don't care that their program's a bit of a mess, I don't care that we're not in the Azteca, we are going to go for it?
Yeah, and exactly that. I don't care. This is US Mexico. If you're growing up playing football, soccer in our country, you know that the US Mexico, this is the pinnacle, game in our region. And you got to be up for it no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's a friendly or a third place game or a final, whatever it is. It's always going to have that feeling. And I love that quote you brought up with Pochettino, because I mean, that quote right there, that I would love to play for this guy. As a competitor, I love to compete, and there's nothing more than I hate losing almost more than winning, right? And that's what really surprised me about tonight. I did not see the USB get off on the front foot, and I felt there was just too much passiveness, a little lack of effort. I didn't see the guys getting stuck in. It only really happened until Zendejas, and late into the second half, brought a little bite to him. But that's too little too late, You're already down 2-0 at that point.
What's that like for you to watch as an elite footballer, a guy that's played for this team, a guy that's played in this game? When you watch the US play without fight, it's different than me. I mean, I just am disappointed, feel a human darkness, feel like a plummeting depression staring into the abyss that has no end. But I mean, you've had the opportunity to influence these games. Are you just howling at the television? Does it make you seethe?
Internally, a little bit, yeah. Just not seeing, the lack of grit, because I think, that's what's kind of defined us in the past, is just that we've been able to bring it, in a way, getting stuck in and show that we're up for it, and kind of the whole American, I guess, spirit and bravado, right, to the game. And I just felt that wasn't there. And perhaps, obviously, recent times, we've gone on this great streak of being at the top of the rivalry, but it's I will say this: it's never easy to go down to Mexico, to play away there. I'll say that a lot of the results we've had have been on home soil in America, but still, I did not see that, and that bothers me a little bit to see kind of guys not really get stuck in. And the only guy I really saw really going in for a tackle was perhaps Aiden Morris, maybe, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's chat about the midfield, because tonight, I mean, from the kickoff, the stadium, similar starting 11, bar Malik Tillman in for Pulisic until Miles Robinson came in late for Mark McKenzie. But the attendance felt fairly spotty at the outset, really a sign of just how much Mexican fans have lost that deep, utter commitment to their national team. But there were more than enough there to boo every American touch. Poch looked on in his sports casual look that he unfurled, like he just rolled out of bed in his pajamas and could still kick your ass. It's nice to see he's got one look for home games, another entirely for the road. But what did you see in those early exchanges? Before the goal, there was a lot of broken play, punctuated by that little prince, Andres Guardado, being ceremoniously substituted out for the last time. A legend, 182 caps, 38 years old. I mean, the United States
Chapeau.
Yeah, thank you, chapeau, because we had three midfielders who I think were barely 38 years old combined. We had the Crown Prince of Fort Lauderdale, Aidan Morris. We had Gianluca Buzio, the gondolier of Venezia, and we had mighty Malik Tillman. In the early exchanges, you were struck by the naivete with which we tried to build up play, right?
Yeah, I was. I think we started off well, right, the first 10 minutes, but then you could start seeing the progression of this trying to play out of the back and the naivety from it. I think at times, just forcing it too much, and when we don't, when we're being overrun in midfield and not being able to connect with, I guess, the double pivot that we had, and not having somebody up top that could maybe be an outlet, right, to hold up the ball and get our tens underneath. You know, these balls are just coming right back to us in transition. And that's exactly what happened. You know, you saw right after Andres Guardado was getting a standing ovation. It was a free kick in the middle of the field. We played it short. I think we got the ball over to Scally on the right back, and a ball that he should normally, kind of look to play forward into the midfielders or into, bypassing lines into, perhaps a number 10 or a winger or even our striker. He ends up playing a bad back pass, bad clearance, and guess what? Mexico gets the ball on a turnover in transition. We get a free kick, and I mean, heck, you still got to bury that free kick. And let me tell you, that was a heck of a finish from Raul Jimenez.
I mean, let's talk about that because we talked about Javier Guerrero back for his incredible third time. He's known as a deeply cautious coach. He's been charged with summoning a way to coax a potency out of a very impotent slump. And I think tonight he found a two-word answer. And that two-word answer is Raul Jimenez in that 21st minute. As you say, a free kick needlessly given away. If you look at that, it was almost self-inflicted.
Absolutely.
But Raul Jimenez, I mean, from Caitlin Clark range, smashed the ball an ecstatic distance with power and whip and menace, a slight kiss off. I think it may have been Tim Ream's man bun, left a diving Matt Turner eating grass. My friend Hercules Gomez has a tagline. He always says Jonathan David is the best striker in CONCACAF right now. He says it all the time. But I will say the way Raul Jimenez has been playing the last month, it's as if he would like a word personally with Herc. Have you ever hit a free kick that sweetly, Ale? What does that even feel like?
Oh, I mean, when you catch a ball so cleanly, you can tell you struck it nicely. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not the guy that takes free kicks, so I can't say I have hit it that nicely. But credit to him. I mean, like you said, he's been turning the clock a little bit, recently, and he's shown that. I think he's 33 years old. That he still has something to say about being Mexico's number 9 there.
I mean, that was a strike of a man who's filled with suddenly a swaggering confidence, right? And it was lovely to see him run straight to Guardado on the bench to celebrate.
Yeah, great moment between those two. Yeah, I mean, he was the best player in the game for me, was Raul Jimenez.
Quality levels above. I've got to say, for Fulham supporting US fans must have been so conflicted in this second, and I feel for you. God bless Raul Jimenez. Honestly, his redemption arc, I am here for it, apart from when it's against us. Pochettino behind for the first time in his US coaching career. How would our boys respond? Poch actually on the bench looked bloody frustrated by a lot of the decision making that ensued, the positioning. 12 shots to Mexico in that first half, 0 American shots of any kind in the first 45. It's a remarkable, I'd use the word achievement very loosely. Brendan Aronson, Yunus Musa, really unable to hold on to the ball. How were we not able to grasp any kind of possession here at all in that first half?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to some of the off the ball movement. I think you can. We're not blessed with the tactical, I guess, camera view, right, of things from an Eagles eye perspective. But I think when you see that the three that are trying to play out the back don't really have any options to play forward, and when the double pivots. The 2 6s aren't getting on the ball. Well, it feels like they're just filling up those gaps where the ball should be coming through, but there isn't enough movement up top. And I mean, did Sargent even touch the ball today? There was no play through him at all. And I think we just got caught being overrun in midfield, really.
The boys looked gassed, Ale, in that first half. I did wonder whether Poch's medicine balls earlier in the week had finally kind of done them in. I mean, they were in that first half. They weren't just being outplayed; they were being physically ground down.
Yeah, absolutely. I would tend to agree with that as well. I think, I'm not sure what the training sessions were like. As we noted earlier, this is Pochettino's first camp with the squad, and I think a little bit of his style of play and gameplay is focused on transitional play, right? So a lot of transitional moments, right? And so from offense to defense, defense to offense, was it a lot of hard training sessions, and that got them tired. A lot of the same starting lineup as well from the previous game. 90 minutes under the legs, or however many minutes they got under the legs. And I will say, from my personal experience, having played in Guadalajara, we played against Atlas in Champions Cup with the Union. It's not really at altitude elevation, but there is a little bit there to it that, where the air feels a little bit thinner, and yeah, that could have maybe had a physical effect as well on some of the guys. But that's not an excuse. It's perhaps just another reason for being out hustled and out physical, I guess, which is something that you don't really like to hear as an American and like to see, because that's not us. And you saw Pochettino's reaction sometimes, and I feel like I'm in this defensive transitions where guys weren't stepping properly or closing down space properly, or shifting over and properly creating too much time and space for Mexico with the ball.
Problem the defensive transitions. I mean, being caught out Panama, God bless, we won, but I mean, they had chance after chance. Were we just being out experienced? I mean, you're a player I love to watch. You don't just play football, but you lead a team, Ale. Were we being out-led, out-confidenced? Or were you watching and thinking, you know what, being beaten up like this in a game ultimately that, yes, it was Mexico, that always has stakes, but in the scheme of things, our C team, a friendly, low stakes. This was a real ass slapping, particularly in that first half. Was probably you thinking this is exactly how a raw, young, inexperienced team gets its experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is only a scenario where these guys can learn from. This is valuable to them to know what it's like to perhaps play in a hostile environment. Although a lot of these players should have that experience already, right? But no, definitely the Mexican team are a lot more experienced. I think you even saw one of the first tackles in early in the game was a really late on Tillman. Actually, the center back from Mexico came up and just kicked him in the leg, took him out. But that was sending a clear message.
Welcome
right?
to CONCACAF.
Welcome to this rivalry, right? and that's what I would have liked to see from us, right? Break it up a little bit, slow the game down, and show them you're up for a game, and it could make things a little bit more interesting. But I did not see that type of response after they scored their goal. And the rest of that first half that was a tough watch.
We almost lost it at halftime. I know we did. I know we almost lost it. I'm so happy to see you for so many reasons. But Poch looked on and seethed from the bench. It was a gent coming to terms with the reality of CONCACAF, the reality of this rivalry, and the reality of US football. I mean, we have dreamed for so long. We have yearned as fans for so long. Sometimes our football history, I went to see Saturday Night, the movie, at the weekend, and I realized our football history sometimes feels like an extended Andy Kaufman bit of absurdist humor. I was fascinated to see what changes Poch could coax at half time, other than to realize he just needed more of his first string. Put on America's favorite Danish American, Christoph Lund. Not our favourite Scandinavian, that would be you, Mix Discarud, because I know you watch this stuff. And also ex-Chivas man, Zendejas came on, Anthony Robinson and Musa, who both seemed honestly dead-legged, were out. And inside 4 minutes, again, we were caught in transition, as we, again, often were earlier in the week. Tim Ream, this was an agony. At first got the better, quite remarkably, of his old Fulham teammate Jimenez. But man, what a cunning tackle from that confident, swaggering bad man. Raul Jimenez poked the ball straight to Cesar Huerta. who shook Miles Robinson, slapped home with a dagger. My God, Ale, poor Tim Ream. Do they have no respect for their elders?
Yeah, no, I felt bad for Tim Ream because to his credit, he actually made a good recovery initially.
Incredible.
But just, but that's what I mean. Like Raul Jimenez in that situation was a lot more lively and, into it and than any of our players were. I don't think anybody else would have recovered from our team in that situation. But credit to Jimenez for keeping it alive. And like you said, it was a great some great footwork there in the box and a calm finish to make it 2-0. But if you go back to the start of the play, I think it was Busio who got it with the ball, was driving forward. Didn't really have an option, but he's being driven out of that, his kind of 6 position way out of the middle. And then, we get caught and transition the other way and no support there in the middle. So, tough goal to give away at the beginning of the second half when you're trying to turn things around. But after the first goal of Mexico's first goal, we just, we didn't have a proper response at all.
I thought Dos Cicero was meant to feel good. LA, Dos Cicero's never felt so bad.
That we like here, no.
Yeah, not the Dos Cicero. I will say Cero at Dos does not feel quite so good.
Mexico, I need a Dos Equis after that one, actually.
Michelob
I don't know if I could say that.
Michelob
Ultra, sorry.
No, you say whatever you want, beautiful human being. Mexico had not beaten us since September 2019, which is an eternity. Poch looked on grimly. New dad, not mad, just disappointed. Brandon Vasquez, I love that unit. Tanner Tessman, mighty had you right, flung on. Hurt Gomez had a beautiful phrase he told me midweek. Toda La Carne, a Asador, throwing on all the meat onto the barbecue. Zendejas, you've already mentioned him. We love Zendejas. What a spiky gent. Slung a stunning ball across the face of goal for Lunt to totally Timo Werner wide. Honestly, hard to watch this team flounder. So young, so inexperienced. We keep touting the youth of the project. But there is, and we talked about this earlier, such a lack of leadership. No Pulisic, no Pepe, no Tyler Adams, Tim Weah, no Balogun, Serginho Dest, on and on and on.
McKinney.
Yeah, real lack of fight here. Real lack of individuals stepping up and saying, by the way, this was shocking to me. Real lack of individuals stepping up and saying, this is an opportunity. Watch me, Poch. Let me show you what I can do. This is my name. Don't you forget it. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I was. I think, look, when I look at the team that played today, one of the guys that I was really looking forward to seeing was Malik Tillman, right? I've heard a lot of great things about him. I've seen he does great at club level, right, at PSV. But I just felt he just couldn't get into the game, and I don't want to call anybody out for hiding from the ball or things of that nature, but I have yet to see him put on, a proper performance with the national team. And he's a guy that, you were talking about Pochettino's quotes. I think he gave him a really great, well, I guess you could say as a compliment, right, before the game. You might have the full quote, but I remember reading it. Comparing him to Dele Alli, I believe it was, right?
Yes, early Dele Alli, not Everton Dele Alli.
Correct. I think he's trying to avoid that part of Tillman's career, but that's a huge compliment, and he's one of those guys that I was hoping to, step up and grab this opportunity, right? To have another guy in the mix there that can really help us control the midfield and bring something to the attack. So
with guile and a tactical savvy, I mean, ultimately that's what we want from this Pochettino era. Malik Tillman is no doubt an immensely talented human being.
Very
We've
talented.
Not seen that in an American jersey. That is Poch's jigsaw puzzle to work out. Larry Johnson in the chat says, Zendaya seemed to understand we were on the field with Mexico. By the way, so much love for you in the chat, Ale. Mark Mancuso says, Ale, I think a call-up as a player coach is needed. Your grit and energy would be utterly an asset. By the way, Ale's about 5 years younger than Tim Ream. I'm just saying, Poch. I'm not Ale's agent, but I'm just saying. Berner says, captain, my captain. Ale Bedoya, greatest club captain ever, which is a human truth. By the way, not a good sign for the US team when Tim Ream has the most touches on the night. So many of the questions we had going in: who's our best striker? Still unanswered. Where's the leadership? Still a work in progress. Where's the fight? By the way, where's the fight? Let's be candid. In our C team, I want to be clear. We have to keep repeating this. This is not hit the panic buttons. This was an audition cast. This was an ensemble cast. This is like going to Broadway and having the lead replaced by the understudy. I do want to be candid about this. I love the comment in the chat from Emru. I intend to remain irrationally optimistic, and I love that setting. I think that's probably the way. But so many of these questions no closer, I think, to being answered tonight. Josh Sargent, as you mentioned, another achingly quiet night. I think he had a knock. I was going to ask you, did anyone up their stock tonight? Did anyone stand out? You've said maybe Zendejas, a little bit of fight, a little bit of beef on the streets. But did anyone really say, this was my night?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can claim that, to be honest with you. I will say the only person I think that really hasn't got any other stock brought down a bit, I would say, is Robinson. I really like his energy and the way he gets up and down. And I think in the first half, really, the one kind of good, decent looking opportunity was a simple long ball similar to the goal. We scored. They scored the last game in Panama over the top. He gets to the end of it. He got a corner kick out of it. But I just really like what he's all about. And I think he can really thrive in this the Poch system, the way he's trying to build the three and have him high up. But in terms of anybody stock up, no, I really. Zendejas, yes, and I think Vasquez showed that he can be an asset as well.
That, man. Love
because
that, man.
You saw that when we started playing a little. Even his first touch was just a simple ball over the top, direct, get into the box, and I think that led to us being able to win the second ball, have a second phase, switch it around, and I think that's the play that Zendejas was able to cut inside and find Lund on the back post for our best chance of the night.
I think the player whose stock went up most tonight was Cavan Sullivan. You don't have to respond to that, but I love you, Cavan. We'll hold a candle for you tonight, baby. In which case, what do you think Mauricio Pochettino learns from tonight? Learns from this window, big picture, that he can take from this, other than I was missing 8 starters. The depth of the squad is more limited than I'd like.
Yeah, I think he found out a little bit about. Perhaps who he can maybe lean on or not lean on in terms of depth. He got to see the Mexico-U.S. rivalry, I guess, somewhat of it in up close and personal. A lot of times, you see it from afar, you hear about it, but you don't really know what it's really all about in terms of the application of the players. And I think you saw some of the intensity from the Mexican side, right? So what's to be expected for the next game. But yeah, I think to be honest, I think he probably left a little bit more with questions than answers, to be fair.
God bless. At Nate Snyder 21 in the chat says, tonight we saw an inherited mentality. Poch is going to have to either make changes or run it out of them, which I think is Pochettino's version of Tracy Chapman. We leave tonight or live and die this way. I do want to say, I don't know how many of the starters tonight could seriously start in a World Cup. Probably 2 to 3 maybe, if you include Matt Turner. I'll say for me, I'm like, bring on November 14th and the CONCACAF games. Cannot wait for the next installment of this. We have to credit Mexico. Big win for them tonight optically. 4 matches. Is it undefeated? Really momentum with Javier Aguirre and his project. Let it be known, I have to repeat this, just one US side has ever managed to triumph in Mexico in 29 games all time, and that's Mr. Jurgen Klinsmann's 2012 friendly at the Azteca Stadium, where the great Mexican-American defender Mikel Orozco scored the close-range 80th minute game winner. Ali, let me ask you this. During the modern era, we American supporters have been eager to see this up-and-coming next generation of players fulfill their dreams, our dreams, their potential. What's it going to take? What do we need? Is it skill? Because I don't think it's skill. We see Morocco surge at the last World Cup. We see Switzerland at the Euros. We see Greece beat England in this window. Has it been coaching? Is it tactical or is it mental? How do you understand it?
For me, this is my personal opinion, of course. I think it's a little bit of both tactical and mental, because there's no doubt that this group of players is very talented, right? They have a great talent. They're playing at the biggest clubs in the world and the biggest competitions. They're gaining that experience. However, some of it comes down to the tactics of the game. You can have all the offensive talent and technique and technical ability that some of these players possess, but sometimes if technically or tactically you're not where you need to be in terms of your IQ and your understanding of spatial awareness and how to shift or when to press or when to sit back or cover, you're going to get found out. And I think the Copa America was disappointing just because of the way we lost to Panama. Like Panama, we shouldn't be losing to them at home. Even with a red card, we were up 1-0. Like we should be able to hold the result against them, even down a man. And that's what I'm talking about, tactically, with players and stuff like that, and the mental part of it, right? I think you even see some of the best teams in the world. I think even France, a team like France who has so much quality, right? I think they even get criticized, right, for not perhaps playing attractive enough, right? But guess what they're really good at? They're really good at holding their lines, tactically being, so self-aware, aware of each other, and winning. But winning is because you're tactically very aware, and also the mental aspect of it.
Which is Poch's mantra. You just win, baby. It doesn't matter. You'd have to win beautifully. You just bloody, at the international level, particularly work out how to win. By the way, when you mentioned the Copa America,
that's a process.
It is.
The winning is the outcome of that process, right? So you got to go through all that.
There you go. That was another bid for Ale Bedoya to be an assistant coach. But
you got to compete.
Also, when you mentioned the Copa, my gut is like too soon. And by the way, in 100 years, if we're podcasting together, Ale, I'd still say it was too soon. It's so bloody painful. I want to get to the questions from a couple of listeners because we are up so late tonight. We're all asking why are we doing this? But I do want to ask a quick question that we got via email from a gentleman, Logan from Charlottesville. It's a beautiful letter, long letter that he wrote to meninblazers@gmail.com about leadership in this moment, in this kind of preponderance of youth. And Logan wrote, Mauricio Pochettino's start as coach has me thinking about the trajectory of our team over the last decade. One thing that struck me is there seems to be a, quote, lost generation of US players. After 2017, there was such an exodus of American greats. I think players of a certain cohort almost went unnoticed as they faded from regular selection. A lot of these players hadn't featured much in a year or two, but it's important to discuss. Bobby Wood, Jossie Zardes, Kellen Acosta, Paul Areola, Jordan Morris. These guys are all in their late 20s to mid-30s, what many might consider to be the prime of their career. And it's perhaps not surprising that a new generation was ushered in post-2018 with a new coach and an unprecedented amount of new talent and a clean break. But I do wonder how things would be different if any of the above cohort had hit their potential, like the Dempseys and Donovans of yesteryear, and continued to be part of the setup. Ale, how do you understand, almost as a gap in generations? That's a question that Logan asks. Logan finishes by saying, I find myself mourning the loss of opportunity and leadership of these players in the US. I mean, right now, Logan finishes, it's a long letter, and he finishes by saying, essentially, it's odd seeing this incredibly young core accompanied by Tim Ream, who's years older than even Josie Altidore. How do you understand it?
Yeah, I think it's just perhaps a generational shift in in our culture, in our society too, right? In general, I think, I think when you have that gap, right? Normally when you come into a team, you lean on the more experienced guys to help you through certain processes, to help you, I guess, learn how to go about certain things or how things have been kind of handled in a certain way, right? And to me, I think leadership is something that perhaps you either have or you don't have, or you learn by being with these types of players and personnel. And when you have that gap year, then you have this young, really, really young, really, I guess, group of guys that are just kind of propelled into this position that
I mean, I love it.
they're not aware of.
We're in a post-expert society, is what you're saying, and the US team is ahead of the curve. Guys, you guys have asked so many questions. I do want to take some. It's super, super late. I've just realized to my horror, I've got the wrong jacket on. I grabbed one out of I've got a huge pile of jackets just offset. I've got this one on. It's blue. I'm going to invite up to stage the couple of characters who are still awake, and I want to get to a couple of them and on all of them. We're on YouTube Live. Your questions are really an important part of this conversation. I want to somehow, in this process, get my proper jacket, because I put one on to honour the great Ale Bedoya, and instead I've got this one on instead. It's so mortifying to me. But Drew, come on up. Tell us where you are and what's your question, beautiful.
Hey, Raj. I'm in Austin, Texas. Too late.
It is too late, even for you in Austin, Texas. What time is it there? It's like 6 o'clock in the evening, isn't it? Oh, my time zone's off.
Midnight.
Were you the gentleman who went to see Dua Lipa instead of going to watch the US?
No, I was at the game on Saturday night.
Oh my God! God bless you. There was a gentleman from Austin, Texas, who said that he went to see Dua Lipa and felt guilty. So God bless you. I was about to harangue you. That was. Hang on, this is coming in. This was Ben. That was Ben who was on the shrooms at Dua Lipa. Drew, I take that back. You gorgeous human being. When you're at games, Pochettino is never lost. That's the statistic we're holding on to, right?
Yeah, and 5-0 in Austin, never conceded. So we'll welcome y'all back anytime.
Drew, it's all about you, baby. You are the tender hope on which we pin World Cup glory. But what's your question for Ali?
I'm just wondering what's happened to Brendan. He's not the player. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a worse performance out of him. Touch, thrown off the ball. But I mean, if I look back, I guess it's been building to this. So I'm trying to understand what's gone on with him, with the national team.
What I can tell you, well, Ali constitutes his thoughts. Brendan is the kind of player Poch loves. Poch adores Brendan Aronson. And I'd say there was a very different Brendan Aronson when you were in the stadium, Drew. I thought Brendan was phenomenal. Look at that goal that he was such a great part of over his interchange with Christian Pulisic. This second game, I mean, I would caveat it, like what happened to all the boys in this window where they shine so brightly? Many of them in that first game. Anthony Robinson, phenomenal in that first game. Tonight, just dead-legged. And I think, both Brendan and Anthony are playing real minutes at the moment. It's something for Poch to think about. The intensity that the gents talked about in the first half of the window in terms of the training. I think the Brendan question is not about Brendan per se. I do think that it's part of a collective thing. But also Brendan, going into 2022 World Cup, was flying. Brendan's taken his lumps. Brendan is on a redemption curve with Leeds. Brendan had one good game tonight. He really struggled almost in that number 10 role, where he really, he could not keep hold of the ball and was knocked off tonight. I am bullish. If Brendan was a stock, I would be buying it. But Ale, what do you see in the arc of Brendan Aronson?
Yeah, no, I think he's definitely on a redemption arc, like you mentioned with Leeds. He's been playing really well there at club level. I would have to agree, as a former teammate of him and an admirer of him, that tonight he really struggled, right? And I think you saw he was switched in various positions, just trying to find something that worked between him and Tillman and Musa. They, like I said, the midfield was kind of inexistent tonight, really, all over the place. And I think he really struggled to maybe keep it simple, right? He got caught on the ball a little bit too much. Wasn't able to connect some his passes. But that's what I talk about, that physicality, right? We got to be up for it. We got to be expecting that the guys are going to close us down and kick us and put their body on our guys. And I think he's definitely going to learn from this experience. I'm not going to use this as an excuse either, but I have to say that the pitch was not good quality, huh?
Thank you.
In terms of like seeing some of the guys and the dribbling, some of the passes and the way the ball was bouncing, whatever, that could have had an effect. But I agree. I think even Brendan would admit, I know him very well as a person. He's very self-critical as well, that he did not have a great game tonight, a good game by any means. But I'm willing to bet that he's going to bounce back and be that energy kind of guy that Puch is going to like working with. He doesn't shy away from the ball. He's always willing to get on it. And I think Puch is going to get the best out of him.
Please God, I mean, Brendan is the kind of project that Poch is the kind of guy that will put his hand on his shoulder and manage. Best thing that Brendan can have, Drew, is real minutes with Leeds, real confidence with Leeds. Championship is a brutal teacher, and to just thrive there through the season is the best thing that can happen for the United States of America. Godspeed to you, Drew. I cannot wait to be in Austin, please God, in the near future. We can raise a glass together. Now I'm properly dressed, Ali. I do apologise.
I love it. I figured. I mean, I thought you were showing love with that blue jacket anyways.
It was pathetic. I just grabbed, I've got a huge pile of jackets. I meant to wear this bad boy, the Philly Special. I would say this is one of my favourite garments. I
love it. That's a nice looking jacket.
It smells of Jim Curtin and glory. Let's bring up Colin. You beautiful human being. Tell us where you are, Colin. What's your question?
Yeah, I'm in State College, Pennsylvania right now. My question for you, Ale, is using your experience, what do you think that equilibrium in training is for national teams between spending time on tactics and spending time, as we know, Poch does a lot with running and individual training? And going with that, do you think Poch has enough time to find a respectable identity before the World Cup for the USMNT?
God bless. That's such a great question. And Ale, you've been in US setups. You can give honest light to this, how fleeting the amount of training is that these players have. That balance between tactical and the physical stuff, and the fact that these players were all talking about intensity. My God, the intensity of this training. How do you understand what you've heard about Poch's training and the reality of how it meshes with your understanding of just the fleeting moments that an international coach has with these boys?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've kind of understood it the same way you guys have, from a little bit from afar, from the quotes and from some of the things that players have said in terms of the length of the training sessions. But it's always hard. That's the hardest part about being a national team coach. You really only have a week with the team, really, in this scenario. And how do you implement this new style of play and system in such short time, right? So I think, like I said, this was just an evaluation period. It will be for the next couple of camps, but I think technology is a great thing, because I think when guys get back to their club teams, these videos from these games will be shared with the player pool, right? And you're going to be looking at not the view that me and you got to see tonight in terms of the TV view. You're going to be able to see a completely different camera view with the tactical analysis, and you can see so much better the shape of the team and how to close things down. And then you work on that shape in training sessions. You do some shadowing work, or you ramp up the intensity by playing a small sided games, but you work on, closing down. And I think you saw a lot of emotion from Poch on the sidelines, and gesticulation, right, of him trying to get guys to really close down space and keep the intensity up. And I think that's a work in progress, because players at their clubs play completely different styles of play, systems, and things like that. But getting them all to buy into what Poch is trying to build is very important, and that's what these training sessions are for. Plus the video analysis that happens. That's a big part of it.
God, I'm going to end with a question that's come in via email from Joe Kelly in Yorktown Heights, New York, who wants to know, can you give the first Mauricio Pochettino USA window a grade, Ale? A to F. What you got and why? Unleash the inner teacher within.
Oh, well, I'm going to say this Mexico game has brought that overall average down quite a bit. So I'm going to go with a C.
Say more.
I'm going to go with the C because I think, look, I'm being harsh, I guess, right? Because the way I just did not like the effort. It's something that, as a player, for me, effort is the one thing that I can't let slip by. And I think, when I see a lack of physicality or grit, that really bothers me in a way. And I think in terms of the style of play, the game, the tactics, I think I like what I'm seeing in terms of what his vision is, right? And I think we definitely have the players to fit this vision when everybody's in the pool. So that bumps it up a little bit, but still against Panama, I think we got a little bit lucky that Panama doesn't have the same quality as other teams do that would just punish us when we turn those balls over in midfield, trying to play out of the back in the manner that we were trying to. And I get it. You got to be brave. You got to try. And this is just, a trial for now and to get guys acquainted and comfortable with what he's trying to build. But at the same time, there was a lot of turnovers in that Panama game that could have been very costly.
Joe Kelly, I'm going to say we're too early in the semester for me to be grading. I'm just giving I'm just encouraging. I'm just getting a feel for the class. I don't really have quite a set. I've not even given any assignments to the class yet. So many players were not there in this, that are not yet here. Let's judge. I mean, honestly, this is a process. You said this earlier, Ali. It is a process. Mm-hmm. It is going to take time. How much time is this going to take?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, how many more? I think I read somewhere there's about 10 camps, I guess, left until the World Cup starts.
I wish it was 10. I think this is the first of 8, I believe.
Is it 8? Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm making this window pass-fail, Ali.
Pass-fail. Yeah, no, I was just basing it off of what was here for this week. But no, definitely, I'd say of course it's too early to grade overall. We're missing key guys.
How long does this take?
I would say, I would say 2-3 more camps until everybody is a proper buy-in and everybody really understands their role, because you got to understand the overall team role, but also the individual players' role and what they each should be bringing to the table when they step out on that field.
I'm going to be lighting a candle, Ali, to the various sinews and muscles of Tyler Adams' leg, and praying for healing and return to full health and full game time.
And Gio's leg as well.
God, please, God, young Gio, come do your thing. We got room for you at the inn any day of the week. Can you finish? Can I give you the last word? And just say, after what we've seen, the Panama 2-0, you've said it a minute ago that Panama had chances. Like, that was a win. It wasn't a perfect win. It was a great start. Tonight's game, disappointing. It was a beatdown. We got slapped around. We got slapped around by Mexico. We lost our record against Mexico. It was, we had none of our starters virtually, but there's many caveats, but there's many downsides. Talk to us as fans about where we are. Give us a sense of, the final word of, I wouldn't say optimism because that's a leading question, Your Honour. But talk to us about where we are. Just give it, for God's sake, talk me off the ledge, Ali.
I'll go back to the one fan you had saying, how we all fans feel, I guess, that irrational optimism, right? But I think that's where I stand. I think, hey, let's take a deep breath. This is not the result we wanted, right? Or for a lot of us, we didn't expect to stay up to see this type of performance. But I'm excited. I'm just as excited as the entire fan base for U.S. soccer with Pochettino at the helm. I have to be honest with that. I like what I see in terms of his ideas. He's got the experience of coaching big clubs, big players, big names. And I really do feel that, with his personality and the way, the things that I've heard, that I really do believe he'll get the best out of our group of players. And I'm excited to see what he can do and continue to build off of this. And this is a learning experience. This is a lot of our key guys were not playing tonight. But I know that when they do, they'll represent us well. And Pochettino's going to get the best out of this group.
God bless you. God bless you. I love that approach to life and to Pochettino. I'm going to close with 2 comments. Mark Mancuso says, Rog, if you're going to wear that sweet Philadelphia jacket, you're going to have to use the word Jawn in a sentence. I think those Jawns are very inexpensive. That's for you, Mark Mancuso. And I'm going to let also Jay Kookie have the last word. Did Poch just Jedi mind trick us all by sending top players back to their clubs, starting a B team, relieving the pressure away from the players and putting all the pressure on himself? By the way, that's 4-dimensional Pochetism for you, and you've just blown my mind. I'm going to leave you with that note. The Jay Kookie mind meld. That's it for tonight. We will be back on Thursday with a really fascinating interview with Brentford manager Thomas Frank, king of goals in the Premier League, scored inside 60 seconds or less. And Friday, I go bald head to bald head with Liverpool's new Danish dad, no, Dutch dad even. Sorry, I'm on the blunt tip. Liverpool's, God bless him, great new Dutch dad, Arne Slot, who's joining me. But for now, I want to thank the mighty Ale Bedoya and just say good luck on Saturday against Cincinnati. I will be watching. Huge love for your team, your city. Godspeed to you, Ale.
Cheers, Raj. Always a pleasure speaking with you and sharing the room with you.
You're a beautiful human being, and it's totally mutual. This is Rog saying to all of you, big love to better days ahead for our US boys. Let's go to bed. And courage.
Good night, everyone.